Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the U Talk Show. I am Kyle. This is Horst, and today we are asking a question. Why is the Pharmacist Guild angry at Albo? Horst, who are the Pharmacist Guild, and why are they angry at poor old Albo?
I can see your face twitching having to read that question aloud. I know it's a little bit different in tenor from our usual. So, the Pharmacists Guild are the professional body in Australia that are responsible for the professional registration and development of pharmacists, and who are also responsible in some respects for public education about the duties of pharmacists. And for instance, they are the people who will promote, hey, we can give you your flu shot at a pharmacy now. You don't have to go to your GP's office. They're sort of your professional vanguard. They are the PR arm of pharmacists. And from my discussions with several pharmacists, their behavior is also sort of an insurance system. For instance, there's the remuneration adjustment scheme. If community pharmacies are not issuing as many prescriptions or filling as many prescriptions as they believe they will be, and they're in financial trouble as a result, there are schemes to make sure that, they can keep the lights on. And those are administered in some cases by the Pharmacists Guild and in some cases by the respective governments. As for Albo, well, honestly, this is kind of old news. And the first thing I'd like to say about it is that the Pharmacy Guild of Australia put out a press release exactly 1 month ago, dated the 14th of June 2023. The date of recording is the 14th of July, about white coat advocacy and how they were very proud of sending a delegation of community pharmacists and industry representatives from all states and territories to Canberra. So, first of all, the reason that they're angry at Albo is that this is an opportunity to do what every professional body absolutely loves doing: getting into politics. Second, the Albanese Labor government has pushed forward a policy which was first contemplated in 2018 to allow some medications used in the management of long-term conditions. To give you an example, I'm diabetic. In case Tummy didn't give that away, I'm on a drug called Crestor, rosuvastatin. It's a very commonly prescribed drug to help manage cholesterol. That's a drug that I've been on for a few years. I'm likely to be on it for a few years more. A drug like that, long-term, stable, under these reforms, I can rock up to the pharmacist and I can get a 60-day supply instead of a 30-day supply. And because of the PBS, I will pay the same price for that 60-day supply that I did for the 30-day supply. There's only just over 300 medications that are being approved for that at the moment. They're being rolled out in groups of roughly 100 over the coming months. This policy goes live to the consumer in September. And the Pharmacists Guild are very worried that their beloved pharmacists won't be able to keep the lights on because filling a script for 60 days instead of 30 days is going to send pharmacists broke.
Question. Doesn't the pharmacy still get paid for the drugs? Because it's all subsidized. So they get paid the same amount for 60 as they do for 30.
Yes.
Yeah, so they still get paid.
Yes.
Doesn't this just mean less work but same pay for them?
Okay, so in the interests of you not having to blank things, I'm just going to say, Kyle, I know where you live. And I know all the pharmacies in that area. I've been to all of the pharmacies in that area. I don't know when the last time you were in a pharmacy was, but maybe you'll remember that you sort of have to like go to the back quarter or less of the pharmacy to actually get your prescription medications. Everything else is like antifungal treatment, baby powder, hair dye, nail polish. Um, a lot of the space in a pharmacist is retail space. So theoretically, it could be argued that if patients are coming in once every 2 months instead of once every month, that there is less opportunity to distract them with shiny things. I could even respect that argument, quite frankly. But it's also worth pointing out there are plenty of people who will go into a pharmacist for hair dye because it's convenient to them, and they're not going in for medications at all. So I'm not sure how the math lines up.
I had the most. Look, in my mind, this idea is both stupid and genius. Just put pharmacies at the back of arcades. Just just merge pharmacies and arcades.
Have the epileptic patients rock up and just yeah, that'll be fine.
I mean, you don't need to go to a doctor, you just go to a pharmacy to get tested.
Yeah, okay.
I know I'm the most
I don't think that's quite gonna work, but there isn't a reason that you couldn't embed pharmacies in other cultural institutions, like art galleries. Or like imagine a pharmacy on the bottom floor of the opera house. I thought you wanted
people to go to these places regularly, Horst. Art galleries? I mean, I know that you and I like that sort of thing, but I mean, even
yeah, but I think everybody should like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I haven't been to an art gallery. Okay, I've been to two art galleries.
You haven't been to an art gallery in long enough that you've forgotten how expensive it is to visit an art gallery. Imagine if we dropped the price of admission to those places. We let everyone in. But so we need to get back to the issue of 60-day dispensing. So
no, goddammit, it's more important that we figure out where to embed pharmacies.
So the Pharmacy Guild of Australia has correctly pointed out that the proposal was first raised in 2018 with the Pharmaceutical Benefits Advisory Committee, who is a non-partisan government agency who specifically work on determining how certain drugs should be paid for by the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme. And they've announced that it's considered a list of medicines indicated for the treatment of chronic conditions and recommended that a bunch of these medicines were acceptable for listing with increased maximum dispensed quantity. So, yeah. 2018, the idea has already gone through. The professionals have supported it. It's 2023, 5 years later. The Pharmacy Guild of Australia are not supporting it. The Royal Australian College of GPs, who are a similar body, but for doctors, they are responsible for professional development, outreach, communication, all that good stuff, have taken the perspective that the RACGP, the Australian Medical Association, the Heart Foundation, the Consumer Health Forum, all reputable bodies who absolutely have a dog in this fight, have determined that this actually seems like a good idea. They've pointed out that in rural communities where you have to sort of make a few hours trip into the city to go to the pharmacy, this means less going back and forth. That's sometimes a good thing. People who are being treated for chronic conditions obviously want to keep an eye on them. It's good to have that regular back and forth, but those sort of people are probably in town every few weeks for like animal feed anyway. The main concern that for the horses, the cows,
like to
purchase food to feed the cows.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So it's just been pointed out, Pharmacy Guild's worried about medication shortages.
For a second there, I forgot that like rural people tend to be farmers sometimes. I
Just
completely
sometimes.
slipped my mind for a second, and I'm just like, why would they need animal feed just because they're rural? Just
Yeah. So
yeah,
the
I know.
pharmacy guild suggested medication shortages, there's an increased chance of overdose and hoarding, and the drugs for which this is suggested are not drugs on which a person can sensibly overdose. Um, they're worried about pharmacy closures and job losses, which I explained. Incidental sales are a thing. Um, but the Royal Australian College of GPs also takes the stance that by allowing pharmacists to have to handle the business of dispensing at a slightly longer interval, this gives pharmacists time to do the other part of their job, which is actually talking with the patient about medications, making sure that this treatment is correct, making sure they understand what's going on, whether there are better options that they may wish to speak to their doctor about. The Australian Medical Association of Queensland, well, the Queensland chapter, have also gone on record as saying that from the consumer end of things, this is an absolute benefit. And from the pharmacy end of things, it allows pharmacists time to do their jobs and to offer some of the routine health checks that pharmacists can provide. For instance, monitoring of blood pressure is a relatively common service. Look, we've gone through why they're angry at Albo. I have a different question. Why do they think that uh, moving into politics is appropriate for a body that effectively claims to represent the interests of pharmacists nationwide, despite the fact that a few pharmacists I've spoken to, off the record, of course, have suggested that the function of the pharmacy guild sometimes feels more like a protection racket.
Let me devil's advocate here because
Please
I
do,
think
because this is the
yeah,
meat of the matter.
yeah, devil's advocate. Like, okay, I don't to be clear and upfront. It doesn't to me it doesn't seem like they are particularly looking out for any interest other than profit.
Yeah.
However, in a more general sense, why is a body or should a body get involved in politics? Well, looking out for the interests of your membership if you're an organization, or or basically the interests of whatever group you're a part of. That to me isn't a bad thing and is a very valid reason to get involved in politics. So if that was their sole concern is just, their membership and pharmacists who they claim to represent, I'd be like, fair enough. However, in this scenario, I think it's more just about profit than anything else. But then again, you could say profit is kind of in the best interests of pharmacists, but then it also depends, are these like, pharmacists who own their own stores, or is this primarily made up of pharmacy chains? Because if it's made up of pharmacy chains, then essentially it's just corporate profits. Do you know some details there? Could you tell me anything?
Well, there really isn't any corporate profit involved here. This is the weird bit because pharmacists are being recompensed for the supply of the medication. They're being paid what they have to be paid. That isn't changing. The full cost of a medication on your little PBS sticker will double because it's double the supply. The person who is the recipient of a PBS listed pharmaceutical will still be paying the $7 something. Actually, that is a good question because it's just made me think of something mind-bogglingly obvious. Not everyone who is on regular medication is eligible for the PBS. There are plenty of people who are still having to pay their $40 something per month for a supply of their regular medication. And for those people, they will still be paying their $40 per month because this only affects PBS listed medications and only some of those. There is no financial argument here.
Well, see, the incidental sales of other items that you were talking about, I'm thinking, who are the who is this membership of the Pharmacists Guild? Is it primarily chains of pharmacies, or is it
It's basically
pharmacies who
every
are owned
pharmacist in
by?
Australia.
Yeah, but are they all members of this? Is this an organization that has them as actual members, like paying members, or is this, or is that just who they claim to represent? Because keep in
Okay,
mind,
so
there are various political bodies that claim to represent large swaths of people, but really have jack shit for membership.
like the Labour Party. Sorry. The Guild
The Labour,
is a membership-based organization representing the owners of community pharmacies.
okay, yes, that's the tagline, whatever. But it's
No, I mean that is
I want some hard
the
details.
exact. Well, it's quite simple. If you own a pharmacy and you sign up with the Guild, you are a member of the Guild.
Yes, but I'm wondering what portion of that membership are people who own their own pharmacies and they're like a small business, or basically huge corporate chains of pharmacies, like Chemist
Chemist's Warehouse,
Warehouse,
for
and
instance. Yeah.
yeah, and what's that other one? It's like got a pink and white aesthetic.
Priceline Pharmacy.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is it like Chemist Warehouse and Priceline, who make half their sales through scented candles or whatever bullshit?
I mean, that's sort of the
Arbitrary
point.
example,
A lot of pharmacy are now making half their sales through scented candles and all that bullshit.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking though, is essentially, if the membership within the organization is more so these huge corporate conglomerate pharmacies, then that would explain why they're pushing for this to not be a thing. And it
So
would
yeah, it is
explain.
strictly an employer's organization. It is strictly for owners of pharmacies, not for pharmacists. Those two things are different. A pharmacist is a person who is trained to dispense medications. The owner of a pharmacy is someone who can hire a pharmacist.
Okay, so that to me at least points a little bit more in the direction of basically it's corporate profits that are on the line here, and it's corporations that are dressing themselves up in pharmacist outfits, who essentially like wolves in sheep's clothing. They're pretending to represent all pharmacists when what they represent are the pharmacies themselves and corporate profits. So I'm going to declare this one complete bullshit.
I'm going to say it's like the SDA.
Don't know what that is.
The SDA is the Shop Distribution Allied Employees Union, and it has been an open secret for the last 20 or more years that they are, shall we say, far more interested in taking a conciliatory stance towards employers than they are in fighting for the rights of workers.
Is this an ANW or a
AMWU is the Australian Metal Workers Union.
No, I'm talking about Australian Unemployed Workers Union, which is actually not a union; it's an incorporated association.
AUWU. And it's a bunch of... No, it isn't.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not that. It's more just
this is a union that has existed since like the 1950s, I think, a little earlier. Who in recent years have been very interested in enterprise bargaining agreements with large firms that are, in some cases, straight up worse than the award conditions for a job position.
So just a very weak union. I mean, that's kind of what you're
That's like
describing. Is
calling
basically
that's like calling collaborators very weak freedom fighters.
okay, wow. So okay, I get what you're saying. It's quite worse. We've run over time, but maybe we should do an
We
episode about
have.
that specifically.
I'm
So
absolutely willing to take that. We can
that
have the question: why is Hoss spitting venom about the SDA? I thought they were good.
I mean, I would name it something a little bit more professional. But that's just me, and well, I'll probably wrangle you into calling it something more professional, as well. For now, thank you for your time, everyone. Hope you found this interesting. I certainly learned a few things, and we'll let you go. Have a good one.
Good night, y'all.